Buenos dias, fellow gamers. My name is Sid. How you guys doing? Today, I'm gonna present to you my favorite Khora build. Before we get started, there are two things that I want to mention. I would like to say thank you because we hit a milestone. We hit 100 subscribers on this channel, and for that, I want to say thank you. Quick mention number 2, my collaboration with Bloodstain Games. If you haven't seen a video of me playing and rating this game, there's a link in the video description down below. And if you click on that link, this is how it's gonna look like. You're gonna see some gameplay, you're gonna hear me reflecting about the game, and to quote myself, actually a great game. Give it a try. Moving on with the builds, we do have the Venari Prime. To make this short and sweet, we have mods that keep our pet alive, like Fiber and Vitality. That was a point when I sold Prime Pack Leader, so if you have Prime Pack Leader, just make sure to put that in, as Overguard is quite important to keep your pet alive. I also have 2 bond mods. The first bond mod, Tandem mod, it's like a passive way to increase your combo counter. The other bond mod is Tenacious Bond. This mod basically gives you a 1.2 final critical damage multiplier, but only if your companion has a critical chance above 50%. So how do we achieve that? Very simple, we put in Bite. Link redirection so our companion has some shields, and of course the Medipet Kit. This mod offers a companion health regen per second and also decreases the recovery time by 15 seconds, which is quite nice. Also, if your companion dies before you, you can use Tech Assault, so your Kavat has a 60% chance to ignore lethal damage and be immune. For the melee weapon, this is one of the most important things. If you're modding your melee weapon, you're not modding your melee weapon, you're modding Khora's whip, okay? First of all, the stance doesn't really matter. I just like this one because it has a cool name and it's rare. For the melee arcane, I'm using melee exposure. The funny thing is, it doesn't really matter if your arcane is rank 5 or rank 1 or rank 0, whatever, because you're gonna ramp up those corrosion stacks anyway. So, which mods should you put on your melee weapon? Well, critical damage, critical chance. You can put prime pressure point here, but I just like increasing the critical chance, so I just went with the other sacrificial pressure mod. Volcanic Edge for heat, since my Riven does have toxin, which means we have gas. You can also put in an electricity mod to have corrosive, because, for example, if you're playing against infested, you deal more damage if you're using corrosive. Then again, I'm gonna explain that later when we go to the Simulacrum, why I prefer using gas. Once we do have the highest combo multiplier, you can basically use Blood Rush for an insane amount of crit, and Weeping Wounds for an insane amount of status. For the Riven, I do have Toxin, melee damage, critical damage, and minus heavy attack efficiency.
Wait, that's illegal. No, it isn't. I don't want it to be illegal.
I'm not gonna lie, that is a pretty sick Riven, because melee damage and critical damage are the only thing that your melee weapon Riven mod needs, plus it has Toxin, which saves me a mod slot. Now, it is time for the build of my Beehive Queen. As you can see, I'm using Arcane Resistance. You can easily replace that with something else. For example, Molt Efficiency, that gives you more duration. Let's say you're playing against Infested. What is the main thing they do that sometimes just kills you instantly? Yes, Toxin procs. So if we have Arcane Resistance, you don't die to Toxin procs. The second Arcane we're using is Arcane Fury, of course, because we do want that extra melee damage. Prime True for it so we don't get knocked down. Steel Charge, of course, for the melee damage. I also decided to use her 3 augments, Pilfering Strangledome, so you get more loot. Accumulating Whipclaw, which is a very, very important and necessary mod to deal the damage. Venari Bodyguard. This is probably my favorite mod for Khora, as it allows the companion to die in Khora's place. The cool thing is, if your Venari dies, you can literally make it respawn faster just by killing enemies. If your Venari dies instead of you, you are invulnerable for 3 seconds. If that is not enough, we do have Rolling God. Also Streamline and Fleeting Expertise for max efficiency. The thing is, you don't have to upgrade your Fleeting mod like this. You can go for a plus 40% ability efficiency, which means you also have more duration at the end. So you're not gonna have minus 50, you're gonna have minus 40, which makes the duration 115 instead of 105. So you can do that. I just like the extra 5%, even though it's barely noticeable. For the last mod, Overextended. Why? Range is good, strength doesn't really matter. It does not influence the damage you're dealing with your whip.
Nice.
There's something I would like to show you in the Simulacrum. What we're gonna do is we're gonna spawn some Boiler Eximus because they do have a ton of armor. Now I'm gonna show you what it actually looks like if you go full corrosive, okay? If you don't have gas, if you only go for corrosive. Those are Eximus enemies, by the way, which can appear in Steel Path. So as you can see, we do have a very high combo multiplier. So if we hit them now, you can see that we're easily doing above 3 million damage per whip, which is insane. However, the longer we're gonna play in Steel Path, the more amount of Eximus enemies are gonna encounter us. So what does that mean? Eximus enemies do have shields, which is why I would rather use the gas build, because it can deal with those shields more easily. If you remember, on our melee weapon, we do have this arcane called melee exposure. This arcane already gives us corrosive, which means we can always go for gas. And the cool thing is, since we do have weeping wounds, our status is gonna be proccing all the time. So we're gonna be proccing gas, we're gonna be proccing corrosive, which is perfect. Perfect.
Perfect.
Now we're gonna try it with a very high combo multiplier on gas. It still easily kills all enemies. As you can see, the damage with gas is slightly less, but that's okay for me, because like I said, personally, I do prefer having gas, so I can always erase that shield super quick. I mean, you already have the corrosive effect anyway from melee exposure, so it's pretty fine. You can just go with more corrosive to have more damage, but you know, yeah. The next thing I want to show you is what happens if you actually die. As you can see, Venari Bodyguard is active. If we get damaged, boom. You see that? We became invulnerable for like 3 seconds. Okay, but we also have Rolling Guard. If we roll, we are invulnerable for another 3 seconds. So, if we combine that all together, it's gonna be 6 seconds of invulnerability in total, which is very nice. Okay, now I'm gonna show you how fast you can actually recover your Venari if you die. Let's take a look. So as you can see, we died here. We have 112 seconds now. Watch if we kill 20 enemies, look. It's 58 seconds left. So every time you kill enemies, the timer is decreasing super fast. That's basically how you survive. Venari is gonna die in your place. You can go back, you can roll Rolling Guard to just roll to safety. You can cast your Strangle Dome, you know? You pile them up together, you kill them, and every time you kill enemies, your timer is getting decreased. So you can always like summon back your Venari, which then again can die for you. So as you can see, pretty cool. Enough talking, damn it. Let's see some gameplay. Let the journey begin. How to Khora? Well, it's actually pretty simple. All you do, you put your Strangle Dome in the middle. You can tether them up with your Operator Arcane. Then you just prime them and you whip them with your Whipclaw. Pretty simple, right? The first thing you're noticing is that the Acolyte is about to spawn. So what I do, I put the Strangle Dome outside just to make sure that nobody comes in. And then I go inside. Sometimes I do cast my Ensnare on him so he can't move. And then boom, I just whip him. And as you can see, the Acolyte is no issue and it's just gonna die easily. Oops. Well, as you saw, there goes my Venari. So I'm trying my best to kill as fast as I can to respawn that. We'll see how long it takes. Ooh, gotta be careful. That's Rolling Guard coming in clutch. We have 60 seconds left. And we have our Venari back. What you notice is that sometimes I just do roll to the middle with Rolling Guard. I either do that to collect loot or to just set up my Strangle Dome. The thing is, of course, Eximus enemies can bypass that, so that's why I'm going into this corner back there to have like a little bit of safety. The map I'm playing on is called Apollodorus on Mercury. I do think this is one of the best camping spots, if not the best camping spot. Well, at least for me, you know, I like this camping spot very much. I do play here very often. One thing you can notice is that I do have the map radar in the middle. That's simply because I do have more overview then, you know, when it's in the middle, instead when I have to look to the top left. This is much easier for me, you know, when it's like right in the middle. Yeah, just feels much more comfortable. So just in case you're wondering, like, how many resources do you actually get in 5 hours, I can show you. around about 3.5 million credits, 276 steel essences. The thing is, if I was in a relic mission, I would have gotten double the amount. But unfortunately there was no relic mission, so yeah, that's kind of sad.
Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
Time for some useful tips. Number 1, the Magistar. In case you didn't know, there's an incarnate version for Magistar, and the 4th evolution basically provides you with this. Increased critical chance by 16% on the normal one, and increased critical damage multiplier by +1. So if you use the Magistar, you're gonna deal an insane amount of damage. Plus, the Magistar also has a 5 Riven disposition, so that's quite nice. Number 2, Nourish on Khora. You don't need this mod in order to stay alive. You can also go with other mods that give you shield gating, for example Brief Respite and other shield mods. That being said, if you decide not to play Venari, you can easily replace her third ability with Nourish, which means you could also lower the efficiency for something else. Then again, if you play Nourish, you have to add some ability strength, but it's gonna make your whip damage busted, trust me. Number 3, Mecha Goddess. I remember in the last video when somebody referred to me as GigaChat Mecha user. Well, I like that. If you combine the Mecha mods with the Pharaoh Predicide that also has Mecha mods, you're gonna spread, similar to my last video in which I explained the Pharaoh Predicide and the Dante build. You can spread the damage with your Whipclaw very fast and just mini nuke a bunch of enemies. Number 4, High Riven Disposition. It doesn't really matter which melee weapon you use for modding, the most important thing are the mods on the weapon themselves. If your melee weapon has a 4 or 5 Riven disposition, that means that the Riven stats are gonna be high, and ideally a negative stat that boosts your positive stats. Number 5, Naraman Focus Tree. What exactly does Naraman offer? Well, instead of your combo counter fully depleting, it now decays over time. That's good because it does save you a mod slot. If you don't have this, you would have to run Drifting Contact, which is a mod for melee weapons that give you status chance if I remember correctly, and combo counter. Then again, if you want more energy, you can use the Nurig. That would also mean that you would have to use something like a body count or Drifting Contact. Long story short, just use Naraman. That's gonna do it for this video. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you awesome people in the next one.